Welcome. This is Lisa with Queen Bee Creations. I am here with today's live. Happy Monday. We are doing a little more advanced card today. As you know, I've been breaking up my lives, doing Monday kind of a more advanced, and then Thursday's a little easier. So today we are playing around with a fan card. Now, this is something I saw, Iced Images. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's something non-Stampin' Up. Decided to make this card a while ago, over a year, I think, but it was 5x7. And I've seen a couple demos that have, turned it into a Stampin' Up card, but they've kept it 5x7. And I didn't want something quite that large. And so I kind of played around with a couple of the tutorials I found and tried to shrink it down in size. And then some of it went well, some of it didn't. So I kind of played around a little more, and I think I've got it down to where it's going to be easy for you to do. So I'm excited to share with you how I have it figured out. And then I'd love to hear your feedback if you give it a try, how it comes out for you. Thank you to everyone who's liking and sharing the video. That is how you get entered into the drawing to possibly win the card I'm making today. The one I did on Thursday, Carol Sue Scott is the winner. So I need her to go to my website, queenbeecreations.net, and then up there in the address bar, put in /prize patrol, just like it says on the little tickler at the top there. And then you can give me the address on where you would like that mailed. So congratulations to Carol Sue. Okay, let me turn that off because some people say they find it kind of distracting. So I'll turn that off. We'll turn it back on at the end. But for now, we're going to play with that card. So here is my version of the card. And as you can see, it is A2 size. The other one, when I was playing around with the template, it was huge. I mean, I know, Hallmark makes these and there's some larger envelopes, but I mean, look at the difference in size. So it took a little bit of manipulating to get it down to here, but I did. And I'm playing around with a new designer series paper. As you know, next week we have a new catalog coming out. And then kind of more exciting than that is some online exclusives that are coming out. So don't forget to check my newsletter for the product share if you want little samplings of all of these designer series papers and ribbons and things, because that is now on there. You want to go ahead and reserve yours fairly soon because I'm going to be ordering them right as the catalog goes live. And this is one of those papers, and you can get either a 6x6 share, or you can get my little swatch books that are 3 inches by 6 inches, and they come stapled together by designer series paper set. But this is Lovely Garden, and that's what I'm using today. I chose the colors, obviously out of the pack here. And I'm using Balmy Blue and Fresh Freesia to create my card. And then I just needed the little hello and the sentiment on the inside. So I grabbed this one. So this is my hello and the you are much appreciated. And then this little tag right here is the one that I used to die cut to fit on the front. Okay, so we're going to start out with that standard card base, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then I have 2 pieces of Fresh Freesia, and they are 4 inches by 5 1/4, one for inside, one for outside. Then for inside, I have one that is 3 3/4 by 5. And then for the outside, that's 3 3/4 by 5 in designer series paper. Okay. Then for doing all of our little fan things, we're going to need some more pieces. So for the bottom fan here, we're going to need a piece that is 3 1/4 by 5. And then this one is 3 inches by 4 3/4, 2 3/4 by 4 1/2. Okay, so that's going to be on the bottom. We're going to end up cutting all of these diagonally. And actually, we have to be sure when we're cutting them, we show the designer series paper we want to be on top. And then we're going to end up cutting from the upper left to the lower right. Okay, and that's to ensure that we get it in the right direction in order to use it on our card. Then for these pieces, for the cardstock and the designer series paper, I mean, the blue is going to come from the piece we're going to cut off of our base. These other two pieces, when I watched the other tutorials, they said, okay, cut it to, this size, cut over 1/4 inch, then trim off 1/4 inch. It was awful. It was awful. So it was kind of confusing. And the way when they came out, they were, I don't know, not all the way to the bottom. So they, the designer series paper stopped way up here instead of down here. It was confusing and it didn't come out right. I decided what we're going to do for my card is we're going to have some different pieces. So I'm going to take a piece of the designer series paper and of the fresh freesia. And we're going to cut one of them. And I'm looking over here at my notes. I have already drawn up the diagram because I'm working on another Fun Fold book. So these diagrams will be in the next Fun Fold book. So this one's going to be 1.5 by 5 1/4. Then I need the designer series paper. And this one is 1 1/4 by 5. Okay, so rather than, cutting it, it was something like this. And then they went over 1 3/4, came down, cut to here, and then they cut 1/4 inch off one and 1/2 inch off the other. It wasted designer series paper. It confused me, and they didn't always come out right. So for my card, we're going to take these little pieces and we're going to just cut them diagonally the same way we cut everything else. Okay, so I'm going to go from upper left to lower right. If you don't want to mash the corners, drop the blade in the middle and then slide up and slide down. So I'm putting the corners in the track, setting the blade in the middle, sliding up and sliding down. And then that's going to fit right over that one. Okay, so we have that. Then those other pieces, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to cut upper left, lower right. And then, of course, because these are cut diagonally and we're only using one of them, you're going to have the leftover triangles to do another card. So you will have leftover of the bottom one and leftover of the top. So just kind of hang on to those, use them on another card. Oh, and we still need the trimmer because what I want to do here is take our card base and we're going to go over 1 3/4 inch. And then I'm going to mark with a pencil. And then we're going to go from that pencil mark down to the corner. Okay. Then we're going to need to do that for our 2 top layers. So again, we're going to do the 1 3/4. We're going to mark with a pencil. And then we're going to cut to the bottom. Okay, and again, this one I kind of had to pay attention to, that I was going in 1 3/4 with the pattern going the direction I wanted it to. Oh, and then this one on the inside, I'm going to do the white with this angle, but I'm going to leave the fresh freesia rectangle. So it will not have the angle that this one will. And of course, we can come back in and use a little eraser and take off any little pencil marks we made that we don't want to hang out. Okay. So starting with our base, let's just go ahead and put these layers on so then we can just deal with our triangles after that's together. Does anybody have any questions of kind of how far we are now? Is it making sense? Helen says the other one makes it look Chinese. This was one of the designer series papers we had for Celebration, and I had quite a bit of it left over. So that was what I played around with as my sample, because I ended up with lots of scraps that were not cut correctly. Okay, thank you to everyone who is liking and sharing. Good luck on the drawing. I'm going to go ahead and use liquid glue. You know, I tend to like seal better, but I'm really going to need this liquid kind of wiggle room, I call it, when we hit the fan pieces, because I want to be able to wiggle them around and get them to where I want them so that my borders are even. Remember that this glue is super adhesive, so you don't need a lot, especially when you're working with the designer series paper. If you use too much liquid glue, it will have a tendency to kind of warp the paper, and we definitely don't want it to do that. Okay, I'm going to do some stamping on the white before adhering it, because I'm always saying stamp before adhering in case things don't work out properly. You can flip it over and use the other side, which hopefully we don't have to, because it really wouldn't work with the angle on there already. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to line this up with the grid paper. I have already lined up my words and my block with the grid paper. And then I have a little 1/2 inch or 3/8 inch strip that I'm going to put on the side. So I'm just going to lay that there so that I am centering my sentiment, making sure that I am centered the way I want it, allowing for that piece. Okay. So, let's do this one first, because I made it too long, because I wanted to be able to have it hang over the edge so I can trim off from the back. I always say I'd rather have it too long than too short, because I can trim off, but adding back on is complicated. Has anybody watched the other tutorials when they made it 5x7? Did you know what I was talking about the cutting it full size and then coming over and measuring down and then cutting off the 1/4 inch? Was that confusing to you, or is that just me that was wigging out on that? But while I have the ink out, let's grab that little piece. I had already die cut my little thing for my sentiment. Okay, so now all we need to do is layer our fans together. Oh, but I cut off the blue. So here's, remember this was from our base. So this blue here is that piece I cut off. Okay, so Patricia says she watched the one from Lisa Curcio. She's Lisa's Stamp Studio. Did you try to make the card? And did doing it that way confuse you? Or was it just me? I had such a hard time with it. Maybe it was just me. Because I know she's got a really good following and they love her work. I mean, and it could be I've watched several of them, so they kind of all blend together as well after you've watched more than one. And then my trying to shrink the size, that added more complication to it. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to set this in the corner, and then I want to have it shoot up diagonally, but I want to make sure that I am trying to keep the points, you know, within the card base. I mean, they're going to stick out just a teensy bit, but the idea is I want to be sure that it's not going to stick out so much that it's not going to fit into my envelope. Okay, and then you can see that it hangs over the top of my angle. So if you need to, you can draw a little pencil line. I can usually kind of eyeball it and say, okay, I need from here down. Okay, so that's the first one. And then this one, kind of the same thing, that I don't want any adhesive up at the top. I'm going to put my point down in the corner and have it come up the center, and I'm making sure that my points are within the base so that it's going to fit into the envelope. And then I'm going to put my sentiment down in the corner over here. And this is where most of them that I saw, they kind of stuck it down here, and it works out really well. I did do a model where I tried to cut a big circle and put it down here when I was trying to cover up the fact that it, you know, they didn't come all the way down. I thought I'll just mount a circle right there. Nobody will see it. It just looked way out of proportion to have it shoved so far down here, because really the circle, if I was going to do one, would be up here, you know, and then it would still show. So it defeated my purpose. So I went ahead and left it there. But because it's just the designer series paper and the one little sentiment down here. I felt it needed a little something extra, so I came in with some fresh freesia adhesive backed embellishments. Now we can use the take your pick tool on the putty end. And I'm going to just push down and slide, and that's going to pick up the embellishment so that then we can move it over to our project and set it where we want it to go. The first one I did 3, but I still could have used a few more. So this time I think I'm going to do 5. Still keeping it in the odd numbers, but just giving it a little bit of sparkle. And that's it. So what do y'all think? We did that in less than half an hour, so it should be fairly simple, I would hope. Yeah, a lot of layers. For a 5x7, it takes a lot of paper. Okay, I love that people like it and they're going to give it a try. That excites me. I love that I can share things with you that you are then anxious to go play around with your stamps, ink, and paper and make something fun. So don't forget, we still have a little bit of time left to go take advantage of the sale and go get the cardstock before the price goes up. It's going to go from, I think, $11.50 to $14 a pack. So it's kind of a big jump. It has more to do with the paper mills than Stampin' Up, because paper mills are going back to producing a lot of paper towels and toilet paper. They're talking about some shift in that going shortage again. So Stampin' Up is just having trouble finding factories that are willing to devote their time to cardstock. So with their having to source a new location or up the price they're paying to whoever they're using, that's kind of driving the price increase. But we can still get it for the cheaper price between now and next week. You have 1 week left to go take advantage of those lower prices, and then all the new products going to show up on May 6th. There is not only the new catalog that's going live, and those of you who placed an order with me in the last 2 weeks, and actually you have until Wednesday to place an order with me and get the spiral bound book. So if you want, oh, I shouldn't show you the inside, but if you want the book that's going to lay flat on the table so that you can work with it, then go ahead and place an order and I will be shipping that to you. And that works the same way as my Fun Fold books. So what I should have done is showed you the Fun Fold books open up and lie flat and go on the table so that you can even flip it around and set it on your desk that way. So that's all I have for today. I hope you love the cards and you give it a try and you come back and play again with me on Thursday when we do another card for our live. Thank you so much. Bye.